Just a few blocks from the U.S. Capitol, there's this quiet but pretty profound transformation underway.
Yeah, it involves millions of dollars in real estate, laying the groundwork for, well, a really ambitious blueprint for political influence.
And today, that's what we're diving into. The Conservative Partnership Institute, or CPI.
We're going to explore what it actually is, how it's rapidly expanding its physical footprint right there in D.C.
And its significant role, it seems, in shaping the future of conservative governance in America.
Right. Our mission here is to really unpack the story behind CPI's, frankly, remarkable growth.
Looking at its strategies for training conservatives.
Exactly. Training a new generation, its connection to big things like Project 2025, and even the local controversies popping up because of its expansion.
Okay. And we looked at property records, community meeting notes, all sorts of stuff.
Everything we could find, public records, reports, to give you a really comprehensive picture of this powerful and evolving organization.
And you might be thinking, okay, why does a think tank buying buildings even matter?
Well, that's where it gets interesting, right?
Because it's not just about the buildings themselves.
No, it's about establishing a real physical foundation for a political movement. It seems like a very strategic move.
Aimed at reshaping the whole landscape of American government and policy, really from the ground up.
So let's start at the beginning. CPI's origins and what makes it a bit different.
Okay.
It was founded back in 2017 by former Senator Jim DeMint.
Right, after he left the Heritage Foundation.
Correct. And his vision for CPI wasn't quite the traditional think tank model.
Yeah.
The kind that mostly churns out policy papers.
So what was it then?
He designed it more as an incubator and activist hub. That was the term used.
An activist hub focused on?
Focused specifically on the professional development of conservative staffers and elected officials.
So practical training, networking, that kind of thing.
Exactly. That's what really set it apart. And then its influence got a huge boost when Mark Meadows joined.
The former White House chief of staff.
The very same. He came on board in January 2021. And that really accelerated CPI's growth and influence.
Positioning it as a nerve center.
Yeah, a nerve center for the MAGA movement. It became less about abstract ideas, more about operationalizing a political philosophy.
Which leads us to the real estate, the physical expansion, Patriots Row.
That's right, it's CPI's term for it. Our sources show CPI and related LLC's limited liability companies have bought up 9 properties. 9.
All on the 200 block of Pennsylvania Avenue SE.
Right there. Super close to the Capitol.
And the cost?
The total comes to around $41 million. It's quite a sum.
And what kind of properties are we talking about?
It's a mix. Commercial spaces, these adjoining historic row houses, a garage, even a carriage house.
So they're building this expansive campus, a central hub.
That seems to be the vision, the Patriots Row concept.
And you mentioned how they bought them. It was quiet.
Very quiet, often. Using anonymous shell companies registered in Delaware.
Shell companies. With names like...
Really bland names. Clear Plains, Hudson, New Point, that sort of thing.
Which allowed them to buy up the block without attracting too much attention initially.
Exactly. A tactic you sometimes see in big real estate plays, but here it's for a political movement, which definitely raised some unease among locals.
Yeah, I can imagine there was that quote from a resident.
Oh, yeah. Quite pointed. A local tour guide said something like, so you don't respect how we administer our city, and then you secretly buy up chunks of it. If it's such a hellhole, go to Virginia.
Wow. That really captures the tension, doesn't it?
It does, between CPI's goals and the existing community fabric. And these buildings are meant to house parts of the CPI Academy, too.
For training that next generation of conservatives.
Right, within that growing campus.
But their ambitions aren't just in D.C., are they? There's this retreat center, too.
Correct. Camp Rydin.
Camp Rydin? Where's that?
It's a huge place, 2,200 acres near Cambridge, Maryland. They bought it in December 2021 for over $7 million.
So kind of like a conservative Camp David, is that the idea?
That's the informal description, yeah. It serves a specific purpose.
Yeah.
A secluded spot for strategizing, building unity.
And training.
And definitely training. Hosting intensive events for congressional staff. Things like researcher boot camps, legislative director retreats.
And the Maryland location is key.
Strategically, yes, because it's outside the 50-mile radius from the Capitol.
So it bypasses certain ethics rules about gifts or training for congressional staff.
Exactly. It allows for more in-depth training without running into those potential ethical hurdles. Pretty smart, actually.
Okay, so they've got the physical footprint, Patriots Row, Camp Rydin. How do they use that to build influence? You mentioned training, networking, even lawfare.
Right. It's a multi-pronged strategy.
Yeah.
And that training and personnel vetting piece is really central.
The CPI Academy you mentioned.
Yeah. It offers formal programs for Hill staff, focusing on, like, the real practical stuff, legislative rules, procedures, dealing with the media.
Not just theory, but how to be effective.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And maybe the most impactful part is what they call ideological vetting.
Ideological vetting. What does that entail?
Well, CPI actively works to find and then recommend staff they see as tough, competent, right-minded to congressional offices.
So ensuring alignment with a specific conservative viewpoint, not just competence.
That seems to be the goal. One chief of staff, James Braid, called them ideological diamonds in the rough.
And they partner with other groups on this, like Turning Point USA?
Yes, for a program called Staff the Hill. It certifies job seekers specifically for Capitol Hill roles.
You know, that kind of deep vetting, if it becomes widespread, could really shift the dynamic away from traditional nonpartisan staffing.
It certainly has that potential,
Yeah.
creating maybe a more unified, loyal staff within Congress or a future administration.
And CPI doesn't just train people, it also helps launch and support other groups, like an incubator.
Exactly. It acts as an activist hub, funding, coordinating, providing practical support.
We've seen several prominent groups emerge from their orbit, right?
Definitely.
Right.
Like America First Legal, led by Stephen Miller.
Known for targeting corporations and the Biden administration.
Right. Then there's the American Accountability Foundation, AAF, which focuses on investigating federal employees. American Moment, which cultivates new staffers.
Also the Center for Renewing America, Personnel Policy Operations, Ben Carson's group too.
Yeah. Russell Vought Center for Renewing America, PPO, and Carson's American Cornerstone Institute. And the key thing here is the shared resources.
What kind of resources?
Discounted rent in those Patriots Row buildings, accounting help, legal services, even access to studio facilities.
Creating this fully self-sufficient ecosystem, as it's been called.
It's a powerful model, streamlines things for these allied groups, cuts their overhead, and builds this really cohesive network, a big strategic advantage.
You mentioned studios. They have their own media setup.
Oh, yeah. CPI Studios.
Yeah.
Described as state-of-the-art and apparently the closest studio to the U.S. Capitol.
Must be convenient. Gets a lot of use.
A ton. Over 1,500 sessions recorded in 2022 alone. TV, radio hits, podcasts, media training.
So they can get their message out quickly and consistently.
Right. And they also have something called the Revere Project.
What's that?
It specifically trains congressional staff on digital and social media, content creation, strategy, ensuring a unified message online.
Okay, so DC operations, media. What about beyond the Beltway? State-level stuff?
Absolutely. They're very involved at the state level, especially around what they call election integrity.
How so?
In 2021, they launched the State Freedom Caucus Network, SFCN.
Like the House Freedom Caucus, but in state legislatures.
Exactly. They helped state lawmakers set up these replicas. The stated goal is confronting the leftist agenda at the state level.
How many have they launched?
By the end of 2022, they'd helped start 9 state caucuses. So extending that D.C. model outwards.
And related to elections?
Yes, the Election Integrity Network, or EIN, chaired by Cleta Mitchell.
What's its aim?
To secure fair and free elections. Their words. By restoring safeguards and significantly training what they call an army of conservative poll workers and poll watchers.
A pretty comprehensive effort to influence election processes from the ground up.
It seems so, asserting a very specific view on how elections should run.
So bringing all these pieces together, the training, the real estate, the media, the state networks, how does this connect to a bigger picture, like Project 2025?
Ah, yes. Project 2025.
Yeah.
That massive 920-page plan from the Heritage Foundation.
With support from, what, over 100 conservative groups?
Right. It's basically a detailed roadmap for a potential future Republican administration.
And CPI's role?
They're not just a supporter on the sidelines, they're an active advisory board member.
So deeply involved.
Very. Key figures from CPI's network, like Stephen Miller, Russell Vought, they've apparently played pivotal roles in shaping the project's vision and policy suggestions.
It shows how intertwined CPI is with this whole plan to reshape the federal government. It's a playbook.
It really is. And the proposals in it are, well, they're far-reaching.
Yeah.
And pretty controversial for many.
Like the federal workforce stuff. Reinstating Schedule F.
That's a big one, yeah. The idea is to eliminate civil service protections for most federal workers.
Which means a president could hire and fire thousands, basically, at will, replacing career staff with loyalists.
That's the concept, a massive shift in how federal agencies would operate.
What else? Weakening the Justice Department's independence?
That's proposed too, potentially giving the executive branch more direct control.
And climate science. Environment.
Project 2025 aims to significantly curtail federal climate science programs, dismissing a lot of it as climate alarmism, plus big restructuring plans for the EPA and NOAA.
It sounds like almost no area is untouched. Education, Homeland Security.
Nope. Suggestions include dismantling the Department of Education, ending student loan forgiveness.
And what about law enforcement training? FLETC?
The plan seems to disregard the federal law enforcement training centers.
Which trains agents from over 100 federal agencies. That seems risky. Could create a dangerous void.
That's the concern raised, yeah. A lack of standardized training.
And there are even more extreme proposals mentioned.
Some critics have labeled things like calls for mass deportations, potentially abolishing the Federal Reserve and withdrawing my Fristone as absurd and dangerous.
Abolishing the Fed. Wow. That's fundamental. No wonder it's drawn criticism.
Oh, definitely. From various places.
Like former Republican Governor Larry Hogan.
Right. He called Project 2025 an unprecedented threat to core American principles, saying it shreds things like rule of law, separation of church and state.
Scientific American also weighed in.
Yeah, worried about undermining scientific integrity, leading to a brain drain of scientists leaving federal jobs.
And some groups see it in even starker terms.
The Global Project Against Hate and Extremism described it as a blueprint for autocracy based in Christian nationalism.
But interestingly, not all conservatives are on board.
That's notable, yes.
Yeah.
Several conservative organizations, like the Competitive Enterprise Institute, FreedomWorks, have quietly distanced themselves from the project's advisory board.
Suggesting maybe some internal debate or discomfort with just how sweeping it is?
It definitely hints at some contention within the broader conservative movement about the direction it lays out.
Okay, let's bring it back down to the local level in D.C. That Patriots Row alley closure you mentioned earlier.
Right, a very concrete point of friction. It involves CPI's Clear Plains, LLC, one of those shell companies.
And they want to privatize a public alley behind the old Capitol Lounge.
Yeah, a dead-end alley. The idea is maybe outdoor seating or event space.
Which led to negotiations with the local ANC, the Advisory Neighborhood Commission.
Exactly, ANC 6B. They advised the D.C. government on neighborhood issues. Their subcommittee negotiated what's called a Community Benefits Agreement, or CBA.
A contract outlining benefits to the community in exchange for the alley.
Pretty much. And the proposal from CPI side was significant.
How significant?
A $500,000 one-time lump sum donation to a 6B-based nonprofit organization or foundation chosen by ANC 6B.
$500,000. Wow. Anything else offered?
Yeah, quite a list. An indoor trash recycling room, rules for construction management, limits on vehicle access, some public access to a courtyard, security cameras, a mural, rodent control.
Sounds comprehensive, but the community wasn't united on it.
No, definitely conflicting views, which often happens with these things.
What were the main arguments?
Well, one resident, Michael M., basically compared it to haggling over the price for something, public land that he felt shouldn't be for sale at all, questioning the principle.
Okay, I get that perspective. But others felt differently.
Yes. Another resident, Paxton Helms, said they'd be happy for CPI to own and improve the alley, seeing it as a potential positive change and added value for the block.
So really shows how these big moves impact people very differently on the ground.
Absolutely. It highlights the tension when large, politically focused organizations expand rapidly into established neighborhoods.
Finally, let's touch on the money. The funding behind CPI and any controversies there. Their growth has been huge, right?
Astronomical, really. Revenue went from $1.8 million in 2017 to $45.7 million in 2021.
$45 million. That's explosive growth. And the wider network.
The network they support reportedly raised close to $200 million in 2022 alone. Just a massive amount of financial power built up very quickly.
Where is it coming from? Any major donors identified?
Yes. Mike Rydin gave $25 million in 2021, hence Camp Rydin.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Other big names include the Ed Elaine Family Foundation, Leandro Rizzuto Foundation, Lynd and Harry Bradley Foundation, the Servant Foundation linked to Hobby Lobby.
Donors Trust, too, connected to the Kochs.
Yes. Donors Trusts, the Bradley Impact Fund, Dave Frecka, a number of significant conservative funding sources.
And this rapid influx of cash, plus their activities, has brought scrutiny, especially regarding their nonprofit status.
Yes, their 501c3 status. An NPR investigation in 2022 raised questions about whether CPI might be violating prohibitions on partisan spending.
Because 501c3s can't engage in partisan politics, right? Supporting
Right.
specific parties or candidates.
Correct. They're supposed to be nonpartisan. So, supporting groups clearly aligned with the Republican Party could, potentially, jeopardize their tax-exempt status. A big deal, legally and financially.
And there were other financial questions raised about funding election challenges.
Yeah, the investigative group documented made claims about money movement. They alleged CPI acted as a conduit, sort of disguising funding from former President Trump's pay for things like the 2020 Arizona election audit.
Specifically, $1 million from Trump's Save America pay to CPI, then on to the group doing the audit.
That was the allegation, which, if true, seemed to contradict claims about the audit's independence and raise questions about financial transparency and influence.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around all this. It's a lot.
It really is.
What we've seen today is how CPI, in just, 7 years, has built this incredibly formidable structure, both physical with Patriots Row and Camp Rydin.
And ideological, creating this infrastructure to train, connect, and empower a new wave of conservatives.
And it's clearly not just about standard political education or writing policy papers.
No, it feels much more like a comprehensive, multi-layered strategy, aiming to influence policy and how government actually works at every level.
All driven by a very clear, very ambitious vision for the future of American governance.
So the big question this leaves us with, perhaps for you listening, is what does it all mean?
Right. When groups like CPI invest so heavily, build these physical and ideological foundations, what are the implications?
How might this concentration of resources and influence focused through a single ideological movement impact things like the balance of power?
Or just community relations in D.C., where they're physically expanding?
Or even the fundamental nature of political engagement in the Capitol and maybe across the country? What parts of this deep dive really stood out to you?